everybody gets slow onboarded. You guys know what slow onboarding is?
No, I'm fascinated by this though, because most of our clients they want to be up and running as quickly as possible. And that's a big thing that we push, which is, hey, you can get leads within the next couple hours.
All right, what's up, everybody? You're watching the replay, so let's go ahead and get started. So it's interesting. I took a trip down to Texas this last week, and I went down there because I was asked to be a speaker. There's a vendor named Ergoflex, and they make a piece of equipment for non-surgical knee stuff, so knee decompression, and then they make one for the back, and it's like a spinal decompression thing. And so they asked me to come down there and speak to a group of doctors that was coming in. I met them several years ago. And as I'm speaking there, they wanted me to pitch an offer, like to say, hey, if you have an offer to pitch to these people, go ahead and you can pitch it from stage. And I was like, well, what if I'm happy to do that? But what I'm more interested in is what if we could make a deal to where everybody, not just the people that are here at this conference, but everybody who you sell a piece of equipment to, what if I could make them an offer that was very compelling, that was a win-win for them, for you, for me? Like everybody wins in this. And I proposed to them what the offer would look like. And they're like, let's do it. These people are moving like 20 to 30 pieces of equipment per week. Okay. And anyway, so there's the point of this call is to talk about, like, you can go one-to-one, you can run ads, and that's obviously a part of what we do, what we've always done. But anybody who runs an agency knows that the longer you do it, the more you're like, hey, why don't I see ads from that one agency anymore? It's because they got into a network. They got a deal. They got this. So the whole point of this meeting was I wanted to talk about that, but I also want to talk about, like, reverse engineering yourself into those situations so you can get into them faster. Right. So that's what this whole thing is all about. And I went through, when I made the post in the UpHex group, I tagged very specific people because I know that they're doing this. I'm not the only person that does networking. I'm not the only person that, does strategic alliances. So I'm hoping that as we kind of develop, the conversation here, that we're going to get some really unique approaches to networking, to all that kind of stuff. But I want to tell you guys how I first kind of like fell into the vendor side of this. All right. So every person, every niche that you're in, this is another reason, by the way, and I keep going back to this, and I have conversations with people that are using UpHex all the time or wanting to use UpHex. This is another reason why having a niche is imperative. It's imperative for your original success. You can't make these kind of deals just willy-nilly without knowing who the players are in the game, right? And so every vendor that sells to your audience, okay? And I'll use, in my case, there's a lot of people, like we did a Watch Me Build a little while ago about a cryotherapy thing, right? What do all of these vendors have in common? What do they all try to do that they fail at doing? But it's kind of like a big part of their pitch. Anybody, and I'm kind of like asking an open-ended question, which you probably don't necessarily know the answer. Anybody get any idea of what I'm referring to here? Like, what's a big problem that their customers have and they represent they can solve, but they can't? Any ideas? Don't everybody speak at once. It's like making your freaking money back on your investment, right? So you're going to buy a cryotherapy thing for your business. As soon as you do that, you're down in the whole 30 grand. How are you going to make your money back? How are you going to make your money back? What can we do to help them make their money back?
Get customers in the door.
Customers in the door. So, like, maybe 2 months ago, we did that super SaaS thing with Joe Rare. Joe Rare comes on. He and I are talking about, like, a lot of things. And one of the things that he said in that meeting was, like, the value ladder. He talked about your product. When people buy your thing, they're going to create problems, right? You're going to create, when somebody buys your thing, you're going to create a problem. So when they buy our leads, what's their first problem?
Contacting, scheduling.
Management.
Lead, nurture, follow appointments. Like that's the first thing, right? So boom, now second tier of value, right? Well, if that's true, you know what else is true? The reverse. The reverse is true. Meaning, if you can find a problem where you become the solution, well, then all of a sudden you can just go, hey, don't worry, I got that thing, I got that thing. Where are those problems? You can create them. Like you could say, hey, like for example, you could say, hey, here's one way you could create, here's an ad that you can use, boom, targeting, everything, here's everything you need, boom, there it is, right there. You can use my thing, we'll do it for you. Or you could find other people in the market that are already creating that problem for your users. You see what I'm going with this? Do you need an example, or are you kind of catching wind in your sails a little bit? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I just barely had someone jump in my DMs about this yesterday, actually.
Dude, I'm telling you, like that is like your never ending pipeline of business. Okay. And I'll use myself. I wish, like, whatever niches you guys are in, if you want to use the chat too, and just like throw them up. We could even see like if we could brainstorm stuff that you're doing. But in my own niche, anytime my businesses are doing something where like they're investing in their practice, in their business, they got to make that money back. It's not like they have this endless flow of money, right? And so if I just reach out to those people, I just did it with another company like a month ago. I'm like, hey, you guys have great equipment. What if we did this? You gotta, I mean, when you approach people with those types of propositions, it's completely different. Let's see here. Somebody said roofing. Roofing's an interesting one. Go poke holes in people's roofs, I guess. But I'll have to come back to roofing. I mean, let me think on that. But you guys, you understand? So Forrest, you had an experience with this just recently?
Yeah, so I had someone jump into my DMs yesterday and they said, so they focus on generating annuities and IULs, things like that. And in comparison, our backend systems are way more superior.
Yeah.
And so they basically said, hey, we'll generate these leads and we'll sell them to your clients. All you have to do is provide us with a little bit of your back-end system support when it comes to contacting and scheduling these people, and we'll split the profits 50-50.
I remember when I was in mortgages, like had I known and had access to all this stuff back in mortgages, there was wholesale reps that would come in and their whole job was to sell their products to us. It's like, hey, you want to originate mortgages? Use this product. It's like a very checkers move. It's like, hey, but there's so many other products that I can sell that are just the same. You know what I mean? Like every business has like so many products that are like the same. Well, what if, hey, here's that product, which that guy and that gal and that company, they all have to, but here's a automation that's going to give you more deals than you can handle. Just do this thing. And the ads are like perfectly curtailed to bring in that type of borrower.
Yeah.
Dude, endless flow of business. You know what I mean? So it's like you identify your niche, your avatar, and then you look at all the third-party people that have influence in that person's ecosystem. And you're like, I wonder if I would fit in there. I wonder if I could like identify one of their problems and then solve it. You'll find vendors that will actually pay for your service. We'll be like, oh no, we'll pay for a year. We'll pay for the first year, depending on how much it is. Right? You guys, anybody else have an experience with this? Or is it just me? Should we just like say, hey, this was good?
I do. I mean, I'll say, so I'm in the automotive industry primarily. I work mostly with commission salespeople, do work with dealerships, both small and large. And I work with people that are on the talent acquisition side for automotive. Basically, you know, their dealerships are buying resumes, they're buying applicants from these providers, and sometimes, you know, they need to stay in front of them for a longer period of time because of the competition. You know, automotive is such a volatile market right now. There's a lot going on in it, so it's created a lot of open doors for us to come in and say, okay, you know, whether it's, you know, you need to lower your cost, you need to outsource your business, you know, development center or your call center. You have a bunch of lazy salespeople because historically salespeople are lazy. They don't want to follow up with people indefinitely.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have other vendors that are, you know, selling leads, selling, you know, sales positions, resumes, that are reaching out to me and saying, hey, we're getting these people their opportunities that they're paying us for. They're saying they're not successful. Can you take a look and see what your platform can do with them and how you can take our leads for them and solve their problem of being able to manage those leads effectively? And it just creates this great synergy. You know, and on the technology side, I mean, that's a whole nother level because you find ways to integrate what each other is doing, and you come to the table as two companies coming to solve one huge problem that the business has, instead of just saying, well, I can solve part of this. Hey, we've got a really close partnership. We work really closely. We've done this time and time again. This is how we solve your problem together. This is why you need to hire both of us. Yes, it's going to cost you a little bit more, but at the end of the day, it's a bigger benefit to the company, and they feel like, you know, they're truly taken care of. We're seeing the whole picture, not just part of the picture.
Yeah. No, there's everybody, we all default to, like, our default setting is I need automotive clients. I need like this client. So it's like, I go to that client. It's like, man, just, you don't have to. And neither does your marketing doesn't have to either. Right. There are like strategic ways that you can just make it way more value-based, solve people's problems, and then give a whole package to where, boom, they walk out the door with more than they anticipated. I think everybody is like plagued by this. I got to go pound the pavement, do DMs. There's nothing wrong with that, because that means you're doing something. That means you're putting in the work, and you know what it is. I don't know if you guys were around. I did a training recently. I talked about my magazine method. Was anybody on from my magazine method? I think Charles, you were, right?
I think so.
So back when I started doing mortgages, and this is basically, if your problem is, hey, I don't have deals, I don't have people to help, right? Well, I was in that same exact boat when I got into mortgages when I was like 25 or something. I had all these friends that were like, hey, we're real estate agents, we're going to send you a bunch of deals. I go in, nobody sends me deals. They're like, you know, they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to do it. Well, I got a wife and a kid, like on the way, I think. And I'm like, oh man, I quit my job and I got to like figure this out. And, you know, you can either be a victim or be resourceful. So one day I'm sitting in the Century 21 lobby, and I'm flipping through this real estate magazine. You guys know those real estate magazines where they've got like houses and the realtor and all that kind of stuff. So I'm flipping through, and I remember thinking, I'm 25, right? I remember thinking, oh, that person will never refer those deals to me because I'm like, I'm obviously not their age, their demographics. And I'm going through. I'm like, well, hold on. These are first-time home buyers. That's me. These people speak Spanish. I speak Spanish. And these are like programs where, like, the first-time home buyer program in mortgages back in those days, like nobody wanted to do them. I'm like, I bet you I got a chance with this lady. So I go in and I called her. She was my very first call. Her name was Christina McNeil. I called Christina McNeil and said, hey, it looks like you work with a lot of Hispanic home buyers that are buying their first house. Is that right? Yes. Are you getting a lot of people approved or disapproved? Well, we get like almost everybody disapproved. Well, what if I could help you get those people approved? I have a lot of programs that I think could help you get more deals done. She's like, here's 6 people right now. And that was it for me. Like it took one phone call and that built my entire business. And what was interesting about that, and by the way, I had this radio show called El Gringo Prestamista. You know, Cecilia, you'll like that, right? Ise Hipotecas. This was a long time ago. But the reason I share that is because that's a strategy, but that's also like a niche within a niche, right? So the niche was first-time home buyers. Then it's a sub niche of Hispanic people. And then it's like, well, what if I know she's having this problem. So I'm going to reach out to her about that one problem. And boom, I was El Gringo Prestamista for years and years, and I never had to do any other marketing. It came to me for forever, right? And I think that's what the whole point of this thing is. It's like, well, what kind of people can you, like, what kind of problems can you solve in your thing? Forrest, you got like, I mean, insurance people.
Yeah, life insurance.
Yeah. There's how many life insurance products are there?
Too many.
Like a boatload. And they all have like their little tiny, like, oh, well, this one does that. And then this one, you know, and it's all like, it's a benefit that they think is fancy, but it's not fancy, right?
Yeah, not only are there like a million products, but you also have tons of different insurance carriers, which then provide those products, and they each have their own slightly different version of whatever product is out there, right?
Yeah. I mean, those are the problems that you solve right there. You know, you make very specific offers for those very specific products, and you can bring in very specific leads. You know, the more specific leads, the better. So anyway, that's all I got, you guys. I mean, honestly, like, it's funny because right now I'm my own agency. I'm looking at my model. You guys know I have an agency, right? It's called Patient Stream. And I also have UpHex. The genesis of the whole thing is a long story, but I just had a meeting with my team, and I'm like, hey, we're going to redo our model here because I want to be able to focus on UpHex, and I want Patient Stream to really grow and start doing different things. And so we're focused on volume, ascension, and retention, right? Volume, ascension, retention. And the volume play, like that, getting a lot of new users, it's really funny because I feel like getting your first like 1 to 10 people is so hard. It's like, oh my gosh. But if you said you need to go out and get 10 people this month, I would have no problem doing that. Right? Because it's a different thing. You're talking to your people in a different way. But when I look at volume, I'm like, well, how am I going to do volume? And I'm not the kind of, I self-admittedly, I don't like to train salespeople. I like to do sales, but I haven't trained a sales team ever, other than like just helping people figure stuff out. But I haven't trained a sales team and all that kind of crap. It sounds horrible to me, to be honest with you. And if I can get 100 people in a month and a half, 2 months, I did that before, over a month and a half, using this approach, I feel like that's a much better approach. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Oh yeah, definitely.
100%.
Back when we very first launched, and I'll tell you how we used the same exact strategy when we very first launched Patient Stream. When the pandemic hit, like, all these people now are like, oh crap, we need our marketing more than ever, and we need a cost-effective approach to doing marketing. All right. And so they're all wanting to do stuff. And you want to know who was bleeding clients the most? Coaches and consultants. Like, agencies are the first ones on the chopping block, and then coaches and consultants are the second. Okay. Because their cash outflow is a lot. And so me and a guy that runs a very successful coaching program, he's like, hey, what could we do? How could we help these people, like, get more people in the door, do it for like lower costs? I'm like, dude, your timing couldn't be more perfect. Like, we were literally just launching Patient Stream, which by the way, Patient Stream was like, I have a video on my YouTube channel. If you want to see what it used to look like, if you want to see what the ad engine looked like back when we used to do it back in the day, hilarious. But they could still, it was still to the point to where these businesses could launch ads themselves. All right. And so while it was way more support heavy because it was not as fleshed out as it is today, and getting better by, of course, but these guys loved it. And so I'm like, hey, here's what we could do. He's like, oh man, that would be an awesome solution for everybody we coach. I'm like, dude, let's do a webinar. Did a webinar, bam, 75 people in a week. It's like that, right price, right offers, 75 people in a week. I'm like, that was cool. Let's do it again. Did it with another company. Boom, 35 customers in a week. It's like, this is great. And then to be like, if I'm completely transparent, the wheels fell off from support, from like all of the stuff. I was like, oh, I've never brought on that many people that fast. This is a shit show. But it proved that with the right offer and the right network and the right strategy, to the moon, right? And that was the impetus of getting really good at service, by the way. So anyway, if anything, if this is just inspiration, if this is just a new way to like go to the whiteboard and say, hey, what are some like some strategic ways for us to acquire new users? What are some offers we can make? Then there you go. All right, I'm going to cut this part out. You guys want to know a weird offer that we just made that I totally thought was going to flop, but it actually worked?
Yes.
And by the way, you guys, so you guys know my partners, Bradley and Jacob. Okay. Do you understand like the difference, like who each person is? Like, so I'm obviously this person, like you know who I am, right? Jacob is a freaking, like, he thinks like an algorithm and all that kind of stuff, but he doesn't know how to code, oddly enough. Okay. And then Bradley's super operational minded, and he runs, he's actually the original founder of UpHex. Okay. Very like, very thoughtful, just a really smart, but quiet person, right? Not quiet, like he never talks, but you can tell when he listens to you, he just sits there and thinks, and then he talks. Okay. So we got a really good like dynamic between all of us. But Jacob came up with this thing. He's like, well, what if we did okay, hold on. He reached out to me. I'm not going to blame Jacob. I shouldn't blame it on you. He reached out to me and said, what do you think if we did a 14-day free trial? I'm like, we did it once, like when Patient Stream launched like a year and a half ago, and it was terrible. We did it to like our, you know, our cold parts of our list or whatever. And it was like so bad, but we just did it recently and we had a 100% stick rate. Like we got, and by the way, we said also, we're like, hey, just only do 10, just do 10, only get 10 people in. There's no point in uncapping the thing and just going that way. So we did 10 people went through the 2-week free trial, boom, all seasoned, all paid, all doing whatever. It's like, whoa. And it was crazy because we were trying to think, these are all people from our email list too. It was the same type of approach. Maybe we've been around a little bit long, or that offer has been around a little bit longer. So they've kind of maybe seen some of it, but we did this 14-day free trial. They all stuck. And I'm like, well, that was kind of cool. Wonder why that worked. You want to know why it worked? Because now we slow onboard people. Everybody gets slow onboarded. You guys know what slow onboarding is?
No, I'm fascinated by this though, because most of our clients they want to be up and running as quickly as possible. And that's a big thing that we push, which is, hey, you can get leads within the next couple of hours if you want to do this right now.
Yeah. So we were doing that. I always thought that was the thing. I always thought that you're supposed to onboard somebody as quickly as possible. And so for like a really long time, that's what we did. And we could do the whole thing in a 45-minute call, get him, like, we could do it all then. But then I was talking with this guy, and I'm not going to out him because he has like the craziest, like, the guy never loses customers, never. And he's an UpHex user, never loses customers, has this super weird niche that the way everything he does makes no sense to me. And he's like, I said, how do you, like, I don't understand how you do this. He goes, because we slow onboard. I said, I don't know what that means. He goes, all you smart agency people will bring people on and you'll onboard them really fast. Whoop, look at all this cool stuff you got. He goes, they don't know what the hell they got. You gave them so many things. I'm giving you ads. I'm giving you follow-up. I'm giving you reviews. I'm giving you give them all that stuff. And they don't know what the hell they got. He goes, I just do, like, I have, like, so I do 4. I want to say I think he did 4 too, but I can't remember. And so I'm like, I immediately saw, I'm like, oh, that's what we're doing. I know that's what we're doing. So I go back to my team, break it up, stop the engine. You know, I'm like, stop doing this. This is the exact opposite of what we need to do. And it makes complete sense. And so we just have we have a goal of that first onboarding. We have a goal of that second onboarding. And even though our users come on and they're like, you know, they've got that buying enthusiasm, they just bought, they feel like, oh, I just found the Holy Grail and my life has changed. Well, I've heard the phrase, and to an extent, I kind of agree with it. Sell them what they want, give them what they need. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not it's not a bait and switch, but it's like, hey, this is the solution, but we got to make sure that it's kind of like if you've been starving for however many days, you don't just go and eat all the meal, you'll die, right? Hey, let's give you just a little bit, get you healthy, a little bit more, make you healthy. Then you can eat full meals, right? And so we started doing this several months ago. And this was one of the cool things with UpHex is I get to talk to Forrest and be like, hey, Forrest, what are you doing? Tell me what you're doing. I'll be like, oh yeah, I got that. Ooh, I didn't know that before. Whoop, I'll take that. Thank you, Forrest. And I'll talk to you guys and just see what's going on. And that to me was like, I heard that. I'm like, that's exactly, I'm doing that. And ever since we've done that, our retention has probably doubled. You know, we just keep people longer. We identify problems way faster because we're not trying to get them qualified leads and appointments in the same call. Right? We get them qualified leads. We give them a scorecard. And then on the next visit, which is a week later, all right, how'd you do? Hey, your response time was an hour. You got 2 appointments, but you got 50 leads. And what happens normally? Let me ask you this. Let's say you bring somebody on, all right? And they start getting leads. And even on this call, we have so many different personality types, right? Joel is sitting right here for me, right there. There's Joel. He's a nerd. Joel, that's a good thing, buddy. That's a good thing. We need those nerds. But you have all these people who come on, they use your service, and you treat them all like they are the exact same person. You treat them like they are you. You treat them like they are you. If you had your system, what you would do. None of them are like you. So what happens after that week? They've been getting the leads. It's been working the way you think it should work. What happens after that week? And they haven't gotten the results that you thought.
They're all over you.
And what do they say?
They don't understand it. They can't figure it out. It's not quality leads.
That's the big one.
We're not getting appointments. We can't get a hold of them immediately. The list goes on. And I went through this. It was hard for me because I spent 20 plus years in automotive. I know automotive. I was in the manufacturer side. I was in the dealer side. I was management to sales to advertising and marketing. I wore every hat. When I came into the agency side and the vendor side of automotive, my biggest challenge was removing what I knew worked for me because I was 98% automated. I didn't make a single outbound phone call ever.
Yeah.
It was all automated, but that doesn't work for everybody. And I ended up doing this slow roll or slow onboarding. And I'll tell you, I had more retention. My support requests went down tremendously.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
It was just amazing. I couldn't believe it, because what I was doing is I was giving everybody, look, this is what worked for me for years. I was 98% automated, #1 top gross earner year over year over year, making easily 6 figures sitting on my hands. Here's my system. Take it, run with it. I give people, I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Like I see there's people in there and I know the system's doing something, but I can't figure out what the heck it's doing. Because
Exactly.
there was so much going on. It was just overload. But I'm a nerd. I'm an analytical nerd.
I love it.
You
Yes.
know? That's what I grew up around technology, but I started when there was Rolodexes on the wall instead of computers, and I had a tech background. That's what I went to college for.
Yeah.
So I had to really pare it down. And now, so like for my automotive sales reps, some of them are computer savvy. I mean, I deal with people from 20-year-olds fresh in the business to 60-year-olds that have been in the business for 15, 20, 30 years that may not be very tech savvy at all. So what I learned to do was just put in a system where it solved their initial problem. And then I'd follow back with them a week later. Hey, how's everything going? You got any questions? Okay. What do you feel like you could automate next? Well, I really want to automate my follow-up on internet leads. Okay. So I just click a button, add in that automation. Here you go. I just add it one stage at a time as they felt the problems. I didn't try to solve every potential problem all at once. And like I said, my support requests went way down to virtually nothing. They were more or less just coaching calls, best practice calls, actual complaint support. Like, I can't figure this out. It's not working right, or how I think it should work. Those went out the window, which saved me thousands of dollars a month. So
yeah, it's amazing what happens when you take it one step at a time, one objective at a time, and you just say, this is the thing we're working on. This is the thing. Once you, in our agency, I call it the green light system, because you can anticipate which problem it's going to be. Right? You can anticipate it. And anybody who's ever heard these leads are like, this lead quality is not good, those are stupid people. Just kidding. That's good. You guys understand my personality, right? They're not stupid. They're just inexperienced.
I mean, they are a little bit, maybe just
a little bit. Thank you, Forrest. Like taking, catching a little bit of the heat with me. It's that the second that they get the leads and then the leads don't turn into sales like that, they're like, oh, the lead quality is bad. These people aren't interested. Okay. Well, that, or you just don't know that next piece of the puzzle. Because the craziest thing is when you see people, and I share this story when I sell on webinars, I share these two stories every time. And like, I'll have a doctor, he'll come on, he'll tell me like, oh, this is not working for me. He'll install either our call center that does it, or he'll watch a video that we have, some training we have, and then all of a sudden he'll fix it. And then I'll go back and I'll tell everybody, I didn't change anything with the leads. Nothing. I didn't change anything. Anytime a business has gone from 0 to hero, and there's in that journey, they've ever complained about the lead quality or whatever it is, I never change the leads, because I don't change the leads for stupid people. Right, Forrest? Back me up, buddy. Thank you. Thank you.
I've told people, like, they say, oh, the leads aren't working well, I'm not getting good appointments. I say, okay, cool. Let me go fix it. I will turn off that old campaign, turn on a new one, and magically everything works.
Yeah.
And I've told a handful of people, like, I didn't change anything. I just restarted the campaign.
Yeah.
And they can't believe it.
Yeah. So, just going back, I think that the reason that this works and where I'm going to use that offer I was telling you guys about is with those vendor relationships. I feel like those people are bought in already. They like the trust and credibility because I'm coming from those strategic alliances is already established. You know what I mean? And Gary Benzabanga, who's my favorite marketer, he said, people will like, there's 4 P's in persuasion: problem, promise, proof, and then proposition. Okay. He goes, of the 4, there's 2 that account for 90%. And that's unique promise and unique proof. Right. And so if you load up enough on those 2 things, most of your sales letters, websites, whatever it is, will work. That's why when you see a lot of these funnels, they got like tons of just like, you know, screenshots and all this kind of stuff of people saying stuff and proof. It's like, because unfortunately we're wired to not believe, especially when there's been a pattern of bad actors. And so now our default setting is we don't believe anything that marketers say. Right. Here's a question. Can you expand? Let's hear it. Can you expand on scorecard for a second? Scorecard is new for us. It's been, we had this thing where we did like an intake. We wanted to get information on them, but a scorecard is basically giving them a scorecard saying, okay, let's look at your website. Your website is lacking XYZ. You don't got a chat bot. You have like it loads slow, whatever. Like just if you guys know how to see if a webinar sucks or not webinar, but a website sucks or is not good, or whatever. And then reviews, like how many reviews you have? Like these things all, I mean, what is the stat? I think it's something like 60 to 70% of the people who see you, who see a lead from you online will go check you out. So you should have good stuff when people go check you out. You shouldn't have a blank Facebook page. You shouldn't have no reviews, right? And when people review, here's the other thing. If people review you, here's a little trick for all of your clients. When your clients get a review, how many of them go and respond to the review?
0.
All they got to
Big old
do.
goose egg.
All they got to do, go in there and engage with every lead. Thank you so much for coming. If it's a bad one, sorry you had a bad experience. Come back. We'd love to help you. Right?
That's one of my biggest hot points. Negative reviews. I love them.
They're great.
I love them.
Make you look
And
real.
I tell everybody that. I'm like, because I'll ask them, what do you do with your negative reviews? Well, we just respond and that's it. And then we try to get the customer to, revise it and totally redo it as a 5-star. I'm like, why?
No.
Like when you go to a review site, what do you look at? Do you look at the 5-star reviews? No. You go to the 0, the 1s, maybe the 3s. Maybe those are the people that are normal consumers. They're not out their mind, so they left an honest review. So you look at the 2 and 3 reviews. I said, what's more powerful, seeing a 5-star review or seeing a 2 or 3-star review where you responded, they went back, left it as a 2 or 3, but at the end of their review, they put update and talked about how you solved their problem. Yeah. So they present the problem, you reach out to them, and then they address how you fix the problem. Yeah. I'm like, I'm doing business with that company.
Exactly.
It's transparency. It's trust.
The longer every year, every single year, digital real estate becomes more and more and more important, right? Local businesses are very late to the program. And that's who you guys all serve, local businesses. They got into business because, they have the entrepreneurial seizure. Who says that? Somebody says that, right? And they want to do the thing, but the whole thing, like having the whole business means that they got to know how to grow. And so to Johannes, our approach to doing the reason we do the scorecard is it's an opportunity to educate, right? I want, when they become a client, I don't want the selling to stop, but I want to transform from selling into advising, right? I want the people who work for me, my support staff, all of them to be advisors to that business. All right. And so if we go through and we notice, I mean, we're not just looking for volume on reviews. We're looking for protocol. I notice you never respond to your reviews. When people look at when people see your leads, when people see your offer, they'll probably go look at that. Best practice, have somebody just go and respond, doctor go and respond. This is like dollar productive activity. This is not, and by the way, it's, if you plan on being in business a year from now, do you plan on being in business a year from now? 2, 3? Yes. This is durable digital assets that if you don't have now, somebody else is going to beat you, and they're going to take your lunch, and they're going to slowly like strangle the traffic within your local market until they own it. Those are the stakes. Like, these are the stakes that none of them realize are happening. Right. So very good. Let's see here. Best way I'm getting in the door as of now is local BNI group. Yeah. I think there's a lot of ways to network. I will say, I just saw an ad from Joel Kaplan. You guys, anybody been served the ad by Joel Kaplan where he's talking about his cold email strategy?
Mm-hmm.
It's a good ad. It's a good ad. You want to know why it's a good ad? He's like, hey, here's the exact email. Like, it says, input 2 things of value. And then like, it's the exact template that he uses. And then he talks about like how to do it. And in that, the thing I love the most, and I had a interesting background with this. The thing I love the most is he said, if you're just starting, offer them a free trial. And the reason I really like that is because I used to teach a coaching program several years ago called the Elite Marketer. What was it called? Something like the Elite Marketer. Anybody know of that coaching program? It was like years ago. I had a podcast called the Next Level Facebook Ads Podcast. Anybody know about that podcast? Okay. It was like a heavily downloaded podcast for Facebook ads years ago. Doesn't matter. Not the point, but we would teach like very, very similar to this, but we would come with lessons and everything. And the guy I taught it with, loved him to death. He'd been doing marketing for a really long time. And he told everybody in that group, like, you never do free trials. You never do that. You never do this. I'm like, I did. And I'm teaching this with you. And I think his point was, if I were to like bring it back, I think there's different ways for people to pay. It's not always money. The point to giving a trial, and I do think if you don't have any clients, or if you want to go from 1 client to 10 clients quickly, I think you should focus on volume, getting a ton of new prospects. And then I think you should focus on, I think you should offer everyone a free trial, right? But you should make them pay with something, not money, like effort, something. Like, find a way for them to apply friction. So your niche is giving their time, giving something, like they are giving something. You're not just saying, hey, this is a one-way street. There is a 2-way exchange, but it doesn't have to be money. Does that make sense?
I'll say to that point, what I do with gaining good referral partners and partnerships with other content creators and content marketers, even though that's a service I offer, there are other people out there that cater it to a specific platform or to a very specific niche that I don't necessarily niche down to. And so I will offer, hey, test drive my software, see what you think, give me your honest opinion about it. The only thing I ask is at the end of the week, you give me a video testimonial. So now I have another company that is competition.
Yeah.
Doing a video testimonial on their social network about my platform.
Yeah.
And then I put it on my website and on my Vimeo channel.
Yeah.
And send it out to other people. I'll do it all day long.
All day.
Doesn't cost me anything.
And with high level, you
little
guys,
bit of time.
With high level, it's like so much of this stuff is like click a button and you just have this thing that would have taken you like so many hours. Like, you could literally go to a local business in your area that has a shitty website and be like, hey, I made this for you. It's got a chat bot and everything. I'll get it started for you. I'll charge you $300 a year. I don't know, whatever. Like, if you want volume so you can ascend, there's so many things you can do. There are so many things you can do. I'll tell this last story and then we'll end, unless you guys have questions, and then I'll answer whatever questions, or you guys can answer each other's questions. I remember this. Okay, I've told this story before, but my kid needed braces like a couple years back. And I'm like, dude, I ain't paying for braces. This is stupid. First of all, they're expensive. And it's not like I don't have money. I have money, but it's like, why would I pay for something when I can just barter for something? And so I go to this, I went to this orthodontist that I had met him at an event, local event. It's a very long story. Anyway, I'm like, hey, how many patients would I have to get you for you to like give my kid free braces? It's like 10. First of all, I thought that was a bit of a steep deal, but I'm like, yeah, I can do 10, no problem. So I start thinking, I'm like, all right, what are we going to do here? And I came up with this idea to do like a back to school. So it was like back to school almost month. I'm like, all right, we'll do a back to school. I'll do a giveaway. I don't do this in my niche because my niche is like chronic pain, but braces, that is like, I could do a back to school promotion with that. So I came up with this idea. I went to the doctor. I'm like, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a promotion for the next 3 weeks. And in that promotion, you're going to give away, a free pair of braces, then 50% off, and this, and then like a first, second, and third price. And they were like pretty good, right? So we ran the campaign. Man, we got so many leads. It was like just off the wall, boom, 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 boom. And I think it was like over 500 in like 3 weeks. And then at the end of that, he did a like a 3-day live. All right, we're going to give away the 3rd day prize, but you got to be on the live and all this kind of stuff. So they gave away the prize. That played on their Facebook page, same thing on the 2nd day, same thing on the grand prize winner. When that was done and all the attention, all that kind of stuff was going on, he then sent out a bulk text message that said, hey, contest is over. Thank you for participating. As a consolation prize, you can get $500 off your braces if you start within the next 30 days. Dude made almost $500,000. What was the point of me telling you that story? Oh, like just getting strategic, like coming up with offers, like going to, and what I always kind of like finish this story with why I didn't go into orthodontics immediately after that. I don't know why, other than I have such a foothold in the niche that I'm in, and I'm like, sounds like work. I've already done that work. Long story short, I could have done that one campaign for him. Okay. And then I could have taken those results and I could have gone to the orthodontist down the street and said, I can do this for you too. You want to do this? We got Valentine's Day coming up. We got Mother's Day coming up. We got Christmas coming up. We got New Year's coming up. We've got like whatever coming up. And good news is we do these promotional things for all of those and we can get you really good results. Interested in this? All of a sudden they're like, that's a whole story, right? That's a whole, like, you're selling me Paradise Island right now. I'm in. That's a lot different than, going in and trying to say, hey, will you hire me for marketing services? No. Hey, are you interested in a promotion that I'll install for you? And this is what it does. This is the results that it's gotten. Boom. What do you want to do? Right? Unique promise, proof. Nailed it. All right, guys. Any questions? Anything to say before we bounce out of here?
Yeah, I want to jump in here real quick. If we can just bounce back to the slow onboarding.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know that I think that touches on, we've been in the agency space for a little while. I think that touches on a lot of the problems that we've had over the years, but especially as we're moving into SaaS and pitching UpHex as part of that package. It's clients having poor expectations, even though obviously we try to set those expectations up front. So I think that adopting that slow onboarding process, it sounds like, Sam, you've done that and had really good success with it. And Charles too, if you can give your insights, I'd love to hear just a little bit more about what the process looks like and Because just in my mind, I'm thinking of, like you said, having a goal for week 1, week 2. I don't know how many weeks you're doing onboarding for, if it's like the whole first month, but rather than them coming in expecting to jump in immediately, okay, we're getting leads, we're getting appointments, we're booking, we're closing deals, we're making money, but having those expectations of, okay, these are the results we should expect in the beginning, but it's going to take time to get to that final end goal of consistent pipeline making money every month.
Yeah, I'll jump into that. So I just noticed for a very long time, whether I was doing UpHex or a service, it was the same. I just noticed for a very long time that we'd get like I'd hit this wall, and the wall was like, oh, like the first wall is always your lead quality sucks. And it's like, well, how does the lead quality suck if that person and that person and that person, it doesn't suck for them? I don't understand. Like, how is this possible? Right. So all of us, we do this thing where it's like, we focus on the symptom, right? But the symptom can't be solved. The source can be solved, right? So it's like symptom and source, symptom and source. The source of that problem is like a poor expectation, or like, it's like it's basically like going from lead. You're doing the same thing that your customers are doing. You're saying leads are what you get. And I think I said in my training this morning, when I first started the agency game, I thought my job was to get leads. Then I thought my job was to get quality leads. Then I learned that that's bullshit. And I thought my job was to get qualified leads. And that's what I still think today. Okay. Qualified leads. However, if I just stop there, they don't know what I know. And so I have to go and be like, well, what are the checkpoints that all the people who have had success that they passed? Well, number one is just qualified leads. And I always say with PatientStream, good news is when you onboard with PatientStream, because those campaigns are proven, because we've run them so much, you get a green light from the very first campaign. Okay. The next one is appointments. Now, appointments is like there's a lot of things that can be going wrong with appointments. I think Forrest actually could talk specifically more about appointments than I could, but if you're using tactics, first of all, it's very rarely a tactical solution. Rarely. We all have the same tactics. We all have the same automation. We all have the same tools. What happens when those tools don't, wave the magic wand? Well, then it's the soft skills that you have to evaluate, hence scorecard, and you have to address. And being able to address them is just having options. Like, here's training, here's a third-party solution. All right. So we break it up, our onboardings, into checkpoints based on the hangups, like where they get to, what's the next thing that's going to hang them up. That's a checkpoint. And we either ascend them to another layer to another step of value, or we allow them to stay there. You can either hire it or acquire it. You can hire the next, like you can go to the next level solution, so you can pay for it with money, or you can acquire it with your time with these training solutions, because you only have time or money, right? That's all you can invest in it. And so checkpoint number one, are you getting bookings? Okay. And then we have a scorecard for that. It's like, okay, well, you're not responding to these people timely enough. I mean, every study that you look at, I think MIT did that one, maybe Yale did one, I don't know. But if you're not going to get back to them within 5 minutes, it's actually like 5 minutes, good luck. Right? So step number one, solve that tactical problem. Step number two, if you've ever listened to any of these calls, like the people who work for your businesses, they hate your business. They hate the business. They don't like working for whatever business. If it's automotive, they don't want to work for the car dealer. They hate their job. They're making an hourly wage. So that is public enemy number one. And it's like this enemy behind the gates. Like, they don't know. Like, the business owner's like, Sally shows up every day. She does her job. She talks to people. People like Sally. Maybe when they're in there, because Sally's a person and people like people in person. But anyway, so I do it. I do 4 right now. And I do it based on, like, 1 is the first onboarding. The goal is to get them qualified leads. 2, bookings. 3, conversions. 4, case values. Those are the 4 different ones. And I have a solution for, if you're not getting each one of those, I have a solution for every step. And the first one is 1 week out, then 3 weeks out. I forget. Heather has it like spaced out based on whatever, but yeah, that's what we do.
Can you say the 4 steps again? Leads, bookings, then conversions, and then what was the last
so
one?
leads, booking, conversions, and then in my niche, case value, right? So like, for example, if you don't make enough money offering a service, like, okay, if I have 100 doctors and they're all offering the same thing and they make $5,000 on average per that thing, and then this guy or gal makes $1,000 on that thing, that's a problem. Because no matter how no matter how good my marketing is, it's just like going in one end and then coming out the other, right? They're not stacking profits on top of investments, right? So I have to, and if I used to think that wasn't my problem. That's the thing. What I was saying, I used to think my job was leads, then quality leads, and qualified leads. If I don't address that problem, then they go away. So I have to find out, what are your case values? How are you doing on this? And that particular problem, I have a third party that I'm like, hey, I'll do a 3-way text between me, you, that person, and they have a solution, right? And I negotiated a deal to where it's like, hey, don't take money from them unless you're able to help them actually solve the problem. You know what I mean? I don't want to just throw on more expense, because that's also not good. And anyway, so that's what that's all about. That's how I do it.
So what we did,
Awesome. Thank you.
What we did is we took, we do it over the course of 8 weeks. So when we do our initial sales call, we find out their 4 biggest problems, which it's usually lead response time, you know, getting their own leads, because I'm working with mostly commission salespeople within automotive. They're the people Sam was just talking about, the people that hate their jobs. So they're trying to build their own business within a business so they can feel like their own boss, show up with the desk and inventory to sell cars. That's it. They don't want to have anything to do with the dealer other than the desk and the inventory. And so for them, their biggest problems are usually, you know, generating their own leads, staying in front of people over an extended period of time, because getting in front of people is not hard for them. It's staying in front of people over an extended period of time. And then appointments. And then, you know, magnifying that even more with lead acquisition. So what I did is I took my whole automation and broke it into 4 parts. And so during that call, I actually find out where their biggest problem is right now, and I start them off with that one solution. And then in my agency, I put the task for the other weeks. Okay, this is what we're going to roll out next, because this is going to be their next problem. We already solved their initial problem. This is going to be their next one. That'll be the one after that. And by week 8, they're on the 4th and final. They've got the full system, but it's rolled out so slowly that they feel the benefit of each part. And then when it all comes together, it's so much easier for them to see the full picture. Yeah. Because they're not having to take it in all at once. And then usually, and the other reason we do it by 8 weeks is we have a long-term nurture that we really preach to our users. Use this long-term nurture, because your buying cycle right now in automotive is super long because of economy, inventory restrictions, all the stuff going on. So you're having to grab people higher up in the funnel to keep your costs down, but then you also have to nurture them longer because of that. So take advantage of that. But at the 8-week period, they've got a good grip on the system. So now they're talking about, hey, can you run some Facebook ads for us to get us even more opportunities? We understand how the platform works. So while the Facebook ads are starting to ramp up 8 to 10 weeks, they've already got deals coming out of the long-term follow-up from that 90-day follow-up. So it's a slow progression, but then as they get into that 8 to 10 weeks, they really start seeing it turning, and they're like, wow, this is, you know. But during the initial sales, we say, you know, this is your problem right now. This is where we're going to take you but we're going to address your main problem first, and
Yeah.
we'll lay out the roadmap as you go along. And
I
it
think
works
it's
great.
I think it's really interesting because anytime, like, as I've thought about this, I hear Charles talk about it. It's like, I mean, again, it goes back to if they buy your thing, they're buying a problem, right? If I buy golf clubs, man, I got to buy golf lessons, man, I got to whatever, you know what I mean? It's like anytime you buy something, you're buying a problem. And it's really easy to anticipate what the next problem is. But I think the reason agencies struggle a lot with this, and I did, you know, so I feel like I have the positioning to say this, is when that next problem happens, I'm like, oh, it's because they're bad at lead nurturing, you know, and I leave it there. Yes, they're bad at it. Like, your goal is to help them get the result, the outcome. So I think what this whole process is all about, the slow onboarding, it's just like reverse engineering it. You know the problems that are you already know. You know, if you've worked with enough of them, you know, okay, when they get here, they're going to have this problem. When they get here, they're going to have this problem. When they get here, they're going to have this problem. But if they didn't have any of those problems, they would win with you and they would never leave. Right. And because all of your clients are a little bit different, they have different personalities and aptitudes and skill sets. You know, some of them are going to go through that progression way faster and get results, and they're great clients. And then some of them are knuckleheads and they're not going to get the best results, you know, but you have to just like parse it out. So I think it's just identifying every roadblock, making it a checkpoint, providing a solution. And if you can't fix the problem yourself, like with me, I can't fix the case value problem. I don't do that with them. I don't also want to go into each one of their businesses and fix that thing. So I just partner with somebody that does that. Right. So I think that's the thing, is like, identify the problem, find a solution, anticipate,
Awesome.
identify, anticipate, identify, whatever, and then solve. Anyway. Awesome, guys. I think we're about at an hour. Thanks for coming, everybody. This was kind of like a impromptu, whatever kind of thing. I will do these from time to time. If something pops into my mind that rhymed, what? Anyway, but other than that, appreciate you guys coming. If you have any questions, reach out to me in the group, and sayonara, suckers.